Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 158. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the Mindful Live on the 5th of December. We're already in the last month of the year and already 5 days into the last month of the year. 2022 is nearly already gone. Imagine that. The year just started. For me, that's what it feels like. 2022 has just started and we're already nearing the finish. 5 days into the last month of the year. We're already only 20 days away from Christmas. I could remember when the countdown of 100 days to Christmas started. And now we're only 20 days left. And you know, I haven't even put up my tree yet. I have a nice, small, cute Christmas tree that fits really well in my background. I had it up last year during the Christmas season. The busyness of this season, I have yet to put up my tree. Christmas nearly reached, and the tree ain't up yet. All right. Well, what we're talking about today is Trinidad and Tobago apparently seems to be running in a profit right now, and the government is very happy, as can be expected. The government is happy. Trinidad and Tobago seems like, we're running in the positive, we're running in the green or the black, according to how you're thinking about it. We have a profit, and they're boasting about it. Let's run over quickly to some of that story. Let's get these stories rolling as quickly as we can before the voice gives out this evening, Make sure that the voice lasts. All right. Trinidad and Tobago records $1.08 billion surplus. First in 14 years. Wow. 14 years we have not had a profit or a surplus. Brian Manning, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, has described over $1 billion surplus reported by the ministry as a huge landmark occasion for our economy. On Friday, the ministry reported revenues of $54.21 billion for fiscal 2022, almost $11 billion more than originally estimated, resulting in a surplus of approximately $1.08 billion. Its first in 14 years. The Ministry of Finance said that some $150 million will be used for a program to bring disaster relief and begin infrastructure work as announced by the Prime Minister on Thursday. So, we have some profit. We made some money, finally. So the government has some money in their pocket, some spending money. How they're going to spend it is going to be a curious thing. They're already saying that the intention is for some infrastructural projects and some relief. And we know that relief is much needed in these times, especially when we're talking about the flooding that recently happened there. According to the statement, Finance Minister Colin Burt said the ministry's finance division has reported that with various ministries and departments continuing to complete their accounting of the actual expenditure in fiscal 2022 as opposed to the estimated expenditure published in the 2023 budget documents, it has turned out that the total expenditure for fiscal 2022 was less than originally estimated, thus improving the fiscal balance. So it turns out we spent less than we thought we were going to spend to. Grand. Very good. So what was the cause behind this? While total revenue rose by $10.88 billion more than projected, total expenditure was revised to another number too. So hi baby girl JJ. So the main reason for this profit that we're seeing here is that we had an unexpected rise in our total revenue. We didn't expect an extra $10.88 billion that we ended up getting. And that's a big part of what caused this rise here. Manning explained how TT got to this point. As you would know, we've been running budget deficits since the global financial crisis of 2008. TT has been having a very difficult time. Where global economic activity is diminished, the demand for energy is also diminished. So that has made things difficult for economy. You see, we run on an energy-based economy. We sell energy, we sell oil and gas. That's the main thing we sell. That's how we make most of our money. So if the demand for energy across the entire world turns down a bit, then the demand for what we have, what we sell, also goes down, and you get that decrease in price also, making the reality be that Trinidad and Tobago earns less money. And that's what has been happening, in particularly since 2008, when we had the global financial downturn, which was caused by wealthy people for the most part. The strange thing with a lot of these things, the problems caused in finance are nearly always caused by experts in finance. That's what, like, if you have finances and you want to know who not to trust, it seems like experts in finance are the exact people not to trust with finances. That's the way it seems, because they are always the ones crashing the world's economy. Manning described the drastic decline in energy prices from 2014 to 2016, reportedly the lowest since World War II, as an extreme event in energy and global economy. He said, and then, of course, we were faced with the pandemic of 2020. Meanwhile, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia earlier this year has had many global implications, not least a worldwide increase in fuel prices. Excuse me. And it seems that worldwide increase in fuel prices by Russia invading Ukraine has been a bit of a boon for us. Now, I am not one to be happy for war. I don't think anyone should be happy for war. That's not a good thing. That's not a pleasant thing to do. But it just so happens that this particular war has been, I don't want to use the word beneficial. You know, using the word beneficial when you're talking about such grand loss of human life seems evil, but it has had an upside for Trinidad and Tobago. Energy prices have increased, and the increase in energy prices have provided us with a $1.88 billion extra in our budget. Something that we haven't had in 14 years. So, for 14 years, we have just been increasing our debt over and over and over. We haven't been making any money for 14 years. All the budgets, we're spending more than we're making. Listen, just the fact that the budget is balanced in this case is a point towards the government. Just that fact. A balanced budget is a point towards the government. Now, the thing is, would it be a point on purpose? Would it be a point that the government could say we earned this point? Or is it really just the point that they should probably thank Mr. Vladimir Putin for? Because they didn't invade Ukraine, they didn't convince Russia to invade Ukraine, and it was the invasion of Ukraine that basically increased our prices and gave us that boost. So can the boast really be on the performance of the government, or is the boast just really happenstance? Is it just a coincidence of reality, a coincidence of the time we are in right now? Green Isle Gardener says, how are we going to take advantage of that to make money after it drops? Money for potholes? Well, the thing is, the announcement of roadworks has already been gone out. The announcement for roadworks has already been made. I believe they said in the dry season, roadworks are going to be taken on anew. So maybe that's already in focus. They're saying that some of the money is already carded here for infrastructural works and for relief works. And they're talking about spending money to help to stimulate the economy. Now, exactly what they mean by that, good evening, Springer. Good evening, Shad. I just read what you said. Good evening, Shad. Exactly what they mean by using some of it to stimulate the economy, we will find out eventually. But I suppose by the government spending money, they're intending to help some money start circulating throughout the economy. And it wouldn't be any time too soon because the economy has some difficult things to look forward to. Green Eye Gardner says we can't keep our economy going off of unprecedented things like that. No, we cannot. It's not something that works for the long run. The thing is, everybody that gets into governance in Trinidad and Tobago says the same thing. Obviously, oil and gas isn't long-term sustainable, but in the short term, it is very profitable. So, how do we take the short-term profits and work it into long-term sustainability? And here's the difficulty in doing things like that. How do we take short-term profits, work it into long-term sustainability, and how do we convince people who are only employed for short-term periods to be interested in doing things like that? You see, a government that's employed in Trinidad and Tobago, by and large, is employed for 5 years. Their focus, by and large, would be in 5-year spans. So that's a short-term kind of goal. If they're thinking short-term, they're trying to figure out what can we do as a government to make sure we have the maximum impact in 5 years. Well, to get that maximum impact in 5 years, almost surely they would have to use a lot of that short-term resources, oil and natural gas. How do we convince politicians that are employed for the short term to somehow focus on the long term? That's a difficult thing. Kanu says, in my country, if you damage your car from a pothole, you can claim repairs of the government. Is that the case in Trinidad? No, sir. No. What country is that, Kanu? Please inform us. So maybe I could look to at relocating. No, that's not how it works here in Trinidad. Why not? Because it's not how it works. Yes, we do pay taxes for the road. The government is supposed to fix the road. We also have to make sure our vehicles are maintained and inspected to be roadworthy. But the government has no requirement of making sure that the road is car-worthy. I find that ridiculous personally. If we have a requirement to make sure that the cars are roadworthy, the government should have a requirement to make sure that the road is car-worthy. The United Kingdom, but that is most countries in Europe, you can claim back from pothole damage. I wish I could have. Because if you're in Trinidad, we drive, I believe, similar to the United Kingdom. We drive on the left side of the road. Our vehicles are right-hand drives. You see the left-hand suspension in the vehicle, that left hand, especially that left-hand front shocks. Let this be your reminder. Check your front left suspension. Take my word on it. Take my word. If you are driving on Trinidad and Tobago's roads, your front left suspension needs some care. Just take my word on that one. Front left, trust me. And as I was saying, also, it wouldn't be a moment too soon that the government focuses on trying to, boost and bolster our economy. Especially coming out of, for example, the floods of the last couple of weeks. Consumers buy less, walk away from high-priced vegetables. Recent flooding across the country has destroyed crops and led to a sharp increase in price of vegetables and other produce at the market. The wholesale price of tomatoes increased by 266%. Wow. 266%. Cauliflower by 108%, and lettuce by 33.3%, forcing retail prices up. That lettuce one, I'm suspicious of y'all. Many of these lettuce farmers are growing their lettuce in hydroponics. Your hydroponic system didn't face any flooding. Why is your lettuce prices going up? I'm looking at you with your hydroponics lettuce. Hydroponics lettuce should remain the same price. Nothing changed there. But There is the reality with regular farming that with the flooding of the last couple days, last couple weeks, it's understood. It's understood. Hydro people are taking advantage of the demand. That's exactly what's going on. And that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of the trickle down reactions and results of what happened with that flood. So flooding is going to cause local produce prices to increase. The fact that local produce prices are going to increase is going to mean that the demand is going to increase on the prices on the goods that didn't increase. So let's say tomatoes had a really bad year because of the flooding. Well, tomatoes are going to increase 266%. Well, then people may look for alternatives to tomatoes. Maybe they don't want to buy the tomatoes anymore. They buy Bodhi. So let's say Bodhi had no bad reactions from the flood. None of the Bodhi crops were flooded. We know that's not true. It's an example. It's an example. If not, even if none of the Bodhi crops were flooded, just the fact that now tomato has flooded out and tomato has reached an insane price, people are going to buy more Bodhi, increasing the demand on Bodhi, therefore chasing the price on Bodhi up too, although the Bodhi itself may not have been affected by the floods. Kanu says Trinidad is an island, though, so you do get extreme prices when there is drought or floods. Correct, correct. Our food prices are very subject to the rigors and unexpected changes of the weather and climate. So yes, that is true. That is understood. But the last couple of weeks had severe flooding. Nearly all of the main planting regions. I went through my YouTube video for today, and the TikTok video I did today was a quick geography piece on the flooding. And if you look at Trinidad and Tobago as a weather map, you look at the physical map of Trinidad and Tobago, you understand why where floods. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious why any... Good night, Richard Glubman. It's been a while, bro. It's pretty obvious why anywhere that floods. You could look at a map of Trinidad and Tobago and see it pretty clearly. So we have our main rivers there. We have the Caroni River, we have the Caparo River, we have the South Oropouche River, we have the North Oropouche River, we have the Navette River, and the Ottawa River, our main rivers. On every single one of these rivers, you can expect the floodplains at peak flood times to flood. That's what's expected. The problem also is that the floodplains of most rivers is where a lot of the food and gardening is done. Food is grown and gardening is done. You grow crops on the floodplains. That's what happens nearly anywhere in the world. So when the rivers flood, the crops get some of the hardest hit out of that. Kanu says Australia has some massive hike prices when there are weather extremes and vegetables. Understood with that. Where is the registration and regulation for these markets? You see, this is my problem here, Serenity, and I regularly talk about this in my lives. My problem is that very often when we see problems in our country, the only solutions that we see as viable would be solutions that give the government more power. Where's the registration and regulation for these markets? Okay, so are you saying that you want the government, the current PNM government, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, you want them to have more power over the farmers to make sure that they control the farmers' prices? Because that's what regulation is about. You want them to what? Regulate the prices? Are you sure you want that? To make sure that they must register to sell. Now, we already have food licenses and food badges in Trinidad and Tobago, so you have to be registered as a farmer. That's already so. But do you want more strict registration? Do you want it to be that it's more difficult for people to get into farming? Now, bear in mind, bear in mind, much of the government regulation and registration, when that gets involved in an industry, what that does to the prices isn't lower the prices, it increases the prices. If someone must be regulated and registered, you're putting an increased hurdle in front of them in doing business, and they are going to pass the difficulty of getting over that hurdle. They're going to pass that price difficulty on to the customer. So when you're talking about registration and regulation, we have to be clear what we're talking about. Jerome Batiste says, I'm a farmer. It's not just the flood, it's too much rain, not enough sunlight to make the crops grow. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Jerome Batiste, because I'm also a farmer too. I have my, a couple acres we're doing some work on, and I understand what you're saying. If there isn't enough sunlight, crops don't grow ideally. If there is too much rain, even beside the flooding, too much water by itself, crops do not grow ideally. If the water stays on the land for too long, so the land stays waterlogged and moggy. So for example, if you have a room I had a room closed up over the last couple weeks. I wasn't using the room that frequently, my old studio. And when I went in there, if you see, mold and mildew is growing all over because the entire atmosphere has remained damp for a really long period of time. I saw some livestock farmers recently, they were complaining that a lot of the feed they are buying, has mold and mildew. They're complaining about that. And the feed getting mold and mildew might have to do with the moisture in the environment, the moisture in the atmosphere. The fact that the moisture has been, the atmosphere has been much more moist for the last couple of weeks could mean even things like the feed gets mildew and mold. And imagine something like this. Even if the feed gets mildew and mold on the animal husbandry side, the price of animal goods in terms of farming can also increase. Yep. All right. Let's see some more of these comments. Yes, the plants don't even get enough light to grow because of the clouds. Are you saying Trinidad doesn't get enough sunlight? Well, not totally that, but not enough for ideal crop growth. That might be the real thing there. Ideal crop growth. Some men doing that hydroponics over there. Now, on the positive side with the price of food though, although the veggies might be increasing in price, although we're... Ooh, one moment. My bad. Yeah. Yes, we were talking farming. That's what we were talking about, but that's kind of gone now. The correct thing is storage marathon man says over there on Instagram. Understood, and I don't disagree. But yes, although the regular food prices may be going up in terms of the veggies, however, on the side of the stuff we probably should be eating less of, we're seeing a possible price decrease there. Flour prices seem like they may be going down just in time for the season of flour. Flour producers lowering prices. After months of higher flour prices, both of the country's main producers of the commodity have indicated that their prices are going to be lower at least until the end of 2022. Flour manufacturer Nutrimix announced a 9% savings for customers on Country Pride flour products for the Christmas period. In a news release, the company noted that in keeping with its commitment to seek opportunities to ease the burden on consumers' pockets, the Nutrimix group of companies announced a Christmas promotion delivering savings on a selected range of Country Pride flour products. It said that effective December 2nd until December 31st, Nutrimix will offer one free 10 kilogram bag of flour for every 10 bags of 10 kilogram purchased, or one free bale of 2 kilogram flour for every 10 bales purchased. Serious question, is there food waste in Trinidad? Can you sell what you grow? Yes, you can sell what you grow. There are many farmers who grow and sell exactly what they grow. That's a pretty common thing. if you're talking about food waste from the producer's side, I don't think Trinidad has a very high amount of that, where the producers waste food because it cannot be sold or not sold to their ideal market. Food wastage, I mean, on the side of the consumer is always a reality, I think, especially when we're talking in the modern developed world. So, yes, that's a problem. But from the producer side, not much so. The prices are going to drop on flour, though. We recently had some prices increase on flour, and the thing is, we are a country that really survives on flour. I don't know for you over there in the United Kingdom, Kanu, if there's a capped market where farmers have to throw away. No, there isn't anything like that. Flour is a really big staple here. Lots of dishes. Everything is flour. Breakfast, flour. Lunch, flour. Dinner, flour. For many people. So, the fact that flour prices are decreasing is going to have a positive effect. Now, maybe what we should be looking at is phasing out wheat flour in the first place. Good night, Tyson. Yo, what's good, bro? Over there on YouTube too, you said? Huh. There seems to be a spam over there on YouTube too. A bot. Alright, yeah. So, yeah. Flour prices are going to be decreased. But as I was saying, I think flour, the unhealthy reality of flour in our Caribbean culture, maybe we should be looking to increase some flour prices and discourage people from eating too much flour. We already eat too much flour in the first place. The carbohydrates mightn't be doing us any good for the Christmas season. That decrease in flour, maybe we should take the savings from flour and buy some more veggies even at the increased price. All right. Now, let's jump into a scandal I was looking at over the last week. Last week, was it? The week that I missed. That is lovely. Some farmers over here are forced to throw away due to a capped market. Yes, I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar. I find that ridiculous. Throwing away food is ridiculous. It's pointless. And I start to realize that it's not really about getting the best thing done for the society. It's about money. It's about people making money and cornering markets. I see you saw the bot too over there, over there on YouTube, Tyson. That bot is it's doing its thing. All right. Scandal over the last week. Waterfront scandal. Parliamentarians appeared stunned and disturbed yesterday over the disclosure that no scanners are operational at the Port of Spain, and 3 officers are tasked to manually inspect thousands of containers that enter this country. The Parliament's Joint Select Committee on National Security, chaired by the government MP Keith Scotland, intends to take immediate action to write the relevant authorities to speed up the procurement of new scanners. The information about the absence of scanners comes as Trinidad and Tobago grapples with its highest murder toll in history, the majority committed with guns. Acting Police Commissioner MacDonald Jacob, who appeared before the GSC, had said previously that the majority of guns entering the country are not coming through illegal borders, but through the legal ports. Wow. Did you know, Kanu says, did you know that if your cow gets too big, it cannot be sold on markets? It's sickening. I could believe that. That's why I as the person was saying before, and I commented before, getting the government involved in many things, it seems like it just damages the process. The government comes in to tell you that you can't sell your cow because it's too big. That's ridiculous. For example, I don't know in the United Kingdom, but I know in the United States, there are several states where you cannot sell raw milk. Like, if you milk the cow, you cannot sell that. I find that ridiculous. Now, I understand how it could reach to that point. The government has to regulate. You have to register these farmers and regulate the milk to make sure that the farmers aren't going to be poisoning their customers. You don't want them drinking tampered milk or contaminated milk. Understood. But here in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have such laws. You could go down into the base, into the main area where they have a lot of dairy farmers, and buy a nice bottle of raw milk, and come and you go and pasteurize it yourself, or drink it just like that if you're feeling brave enough and see if you're going to get the last diarrhea of your life. You could do that if you want. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Getting the government involved in a lot of those things just work counterproductively. And when we're looking at this scandal that we're talking about here, you're seeing the government at work. So, our police commissioner acting has already said the majority of the guns that come into our country, they don't come in sneaking in through any illegal border. It's not anyone coming in with a pirogue in the dead of night, pulling up on a beach. No, that's not how the majority of guns come in. The majority of guns come in through our legal ports of entry. So they come in containers, in barrels, in boxes, on ships into the ports, clear our customs division, and enters the country. So that's how the majority of guns gets here, according to our commissioner of police. Now, at the same time, while that is true, on our ports, we recognize, oh, my bad, sorry, pew pew. At the same time, while we have an issue with the pew-pews and they're coming in through our legal ports of entry, and we are on a record for the most murders in a year, yes, we have already surpassed the record for the most murders in the year, and December has barely started. While all of this is going on, we find out that our port has no scanners working. They cannot scan the containers when they come in. And they have 3 officers that must go and manually check thousands of containers. Wow. Okay. Everything I cannot see. Unaliving, yes. We are breaking records on people unaliving each other. And at the same time, our port cannot scan containers. The containers that are bringing in the equipment for people to unalive each other, we cannot even scan for it. The containers are being checked through physical examination. Unfortunately, that is the best available avenue at this point in time. We do not have sufficient staff. Our container examination station has 14 bays, but unfortunately, with the staff that we have, we can only assign 3 examination officers to assess at Port of Spain. So our efficiency is compromised by that fact that we have limited staff. Does anyone think that the people in authority really don't know this? When you're looking at the crime happening in the country, and you're looking at the little ghetto youths, as they call them, that fella whose hair isn't combed, and you could see, when somebody didn't bathe that morning, and you could kind of see the sheen on the skin a bit. I don't know if it's me alone noticed that, but you could kind of see where the tears they sleep and thing, and it run down on the face, and you see those kind of stain marks and a little stain mark, and the fella looking like that, and he in a 3/4 and a Clarks with no lace, and you're like, that's the problem in the country. Well, that may be the execution arm of the problem, but they're not bringing in the equipment themselves. They're not bringing in the equipment themselves. How could it be that everyone knows how these weapons get into the country, but no one is able to stop it? How does that work? Who is supposed to believe this. Explain how this is something that people are supposed to take as reality. More scandal. What is the tourist trade like for Trinidad right now? Well, Trinidad specifically, you have to remember Trinidad, our island is a twin island republic, Trinidad and Tobago. And Trinidad is mostly a producer of oil and natural gas. We don't focus very heavily on tourism. Tobago, our sister island, is much more of a tourist hub. And tourism is picking up in Tobago right now. They were rated as the second most desirable island somewhere, and the most desirable island in the next place there. And the cruise ships are starting to come in. So Tobago is doing relatively well on the tourist front. The thing is, the crime in our island is more so focused in Trinidad. Tobago has some crime, but not nearly as much as Trinidad. Not nearly as much as Trinidad. Tobago is a little different. Shiva Rajkumar, yes, I know you're over there in Tobago, giving trouble over there in Tobago. Well, Wasa overstaffed, so they some people from there, but for real, how? You know, that's a good point, you know, Diaz Julia. Seeing as Wasa overstaffed and a lot of the other areas in the public service overstaffed, take some people from there and send them over to customs to inspect some containers. Yeah, that might work. More scandal. 2 mobile police scanners lie idle. 2 vehicles with X-ray capabilities leased under Griffith. The scandal of insufficient scanners to detect drugs and guns in the country has sunk into murkier waters. The latest is that 2 vehicles with scanning capabilities were procured by former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, but Acting Police Commissioner McDonald Jacobs said yesterday they were eating away $1.8 million of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service budget monthly. Further, the cops said that the vehicles cannot be utilized to scan containers at the port, and to date have had no significant success in crime fighting. Let's analyze some things here. Let's analyze some things with this here. So, there were 2 vehicles, 2 extra vehicles that were purchased, well, not purchased, leased under the former police commissioner to assist in scanning vehicles for guns and for pew and drugs, etc., etc., etc. Scanning on the ports. Now, the current commissioner is saying that, sorry, that these vehicles can't work. They can't work. Sorry, these vehicles can't work. Let's hear the reasons he is saying that these vehicles can't work. In response to the questions from the Express yesterday, Jacobs said there were also occupational health and safety issues in relation to the risks associated with scanning vehicles occupied with persons and also persons utilizing the scanning vehicles. The vehicles with X-ray capabilities were leased under Griffith's tenure, and an agreement commenced on December 1st, 2019 for a 4-year period. So, the commissioner is saying that there are health worries, you know. They're worried to use the X-ray vehicles because nobody wants to, you know, experience the X-rays. So there are OSH worries there. Okay. Jacobs said because of the high cost, the National Security Ministry reviewed the agreement with the company and discussions are ongoing as to where they can be used in other areas of law enforcement. Now, he is saying that the high cost is a problem. You're talking about the high cost there to Green Isle Gardner. Now, the thing is, these vehicles were not bought. They were leased. If they were leased, even if the cost is high, that does not stop you from using it. You're paying the high lease cost anyway. How is the high lease cost an excuse to not use it? I would say if the lease cost is so high, then we should be using it every day maximum. In fact, never turn those vehicles off. If the lease cost is so high, let's use them 24/7 and get maximum purchase out of the already high lease cost. How are you going to tell me the cost is so high? So here's what we are going to do. The cost is so high, so we're going to park up the vehicles and not use them. That makes sense. Yes. He said during the period the scanning vehicles were in use, there was no significant success, and coupled with the OSH issues and high costs, they were discontinued. So they had no significant success. I would like to know what he determines as that. No significant success. Does he mean that they didn't find much contraband items? Might I suggest that if you were scanning vehicles and you didn't find much, it may be because you were scanning the vehicles, the criminals decided not to send anything in those areas. And now that you have decided to stop scanning the vehicles, they're going to start back. Like, not having significant results. What exactly does that mean? Significant success. What exactly does that mean? And coupled with the health and safety issues. So he is saying that a vehicle created to do this X-ray job has health and safety issues. Now, I struggle to believe that. I think if this vehicle had such significant health and safety issues, then this vehicle would not have been cleared for manufacturing. Is it that our police service is alleging these X-ray vehicles are improper for human use? Then maybe we should be launching a class action lawsuit and suing the manufacturers of these vehicles. Is that what we are saying? Is our police service saying that the X-ray vehicles cannot be used by humans? Or is this to me sounds a lot like the excuses given for why the body cameras cannot be worn by the police. There are always excuses and excuses and excuses and excuses. The price is too high on a lease, so you're not going to use the thing. That makes absolutely no sense. Let's look at the reasons. The price is too high, the health and safety issues on a vehicle created for that very same purpose. Well, maybe we should be suing the companies that are creating these vehicles with health and safety issues. I don't get it. How about you hold a class action lawsuit to force an external audit on your police force? I don't think that would work in Trinidad and Tobago's court system, the way our court system is designed. Now, Griffith, the police commissioner who ordered these vehicles, came out and has said scanners work on ports in 57 countries. Amid alarm over the security risk created by the inoperative scanners at the Port of Spain, at the Port of Port of Spain and Point Lisa Ports, former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith maintains the TTPS or police service has the equipment to scan vehicles and containers. In a statement late Saturday, Griffith argued that his successor, McDonnell Jacob, poses a clear and present danger to national security. In the scathing release, Griffith describes recent statements by Jacob as nonsensical rambling, saying it was becoming tiring. He said Jacob was unsuitable to lead the TTPS. Griffith said after he alerted the country that he acquired equipment for the TTPS to scan vehicles for weapons and drugs, Jacob quickly responded on TV6B on the television program. Firstly, he said that the vehicles acquired during my tenure to scan containers and vehicles are not suitable for ports. So his first response is a blatant and absolute lie and immediately sets the tone for the nonsense that follows. The truth is the vehicles in question are today at work at almost 150 ports worldwide in 57 countries, Griffith said. So, according to the former commissioner, and I have no reason to doubt his words here, the very same vehicles that are too expensive and dangerous, apparently, for our precious police to use here in Trinidad and Tobago are being used widely across the world. Jacob recently told the media that the vehicles could not be used at the ports as an expert determined that it was not in a position to scan whole containers but small items like barrels. He said there was no significant success in scanning vehicles during a period of use. He added there was a high cost and health and safety concerns. Griffith said no one brought any health concern to his attention during his tenure. He said countries including the United States of America, South Africa, United Kingdom, France, United Arab Emirates, and Mexico use them without a health complaint or concern. Adding that the technology backscatter X-ray has less radiation than traditional X-rays. So, if we are to believe the former police commissioner, he is saying that our present police commissioner has folded up the use of scanners on the ports for no justifiable reason. So our present police commissioner folded up the use of scanners on the ports. The customs has no functioning scanners, so they have 3 customs officers that manually go to scan thousands of containers. Seeing these realities, is it any surprise that pew-pews can be found so prevalently throughout our society? There's no difficulty in getting anything in there. What's the difficulty there? And I dare someone to try and argue that this is all happenstance. It's all a mistake. It's all a coincidence. Nothing is on purpose here. I dare you to try and argue that. He is not under any current investigations. He is our acting police commissioner, by the way. Not the substantive police commissioner. He's only acting in the position for about a year now, over a year now, interestingly enough. If we get into talking about the whole job of the commissioner, that's another bit of confusion and scandal that was raised in the country not too long ago. All right, folks, my the virus that has been attacking me for the last week is trying to signal to my throat and nose and all of that, you know, you're out of time here. And I appreciate you all for tuning in. It has been good as usual. I hope you guys were educated, informed, or entertained. I will see you guys in the next Mindful Live session tomorrow at 9:15. You all could tune in there. The Mindful Lives run not only on TikTok there, not only on Instagram there, but also on YouTube. You could head over to my YouTube channel, Nathan Springer, over there on YouTube. Catch the Mindful Lives. Also, there are other videos that I released. There was a video today I released on the flooding and geography and some nice lessons there. Speaking of lessons, if you are interested in CXC or K private tutoring lessons for most of the CXC or K subjects, you can contact me or contact our page Mindful Education over there on Instagram, or contact me anywhere. You get me in my DMs or message me anywhere if you are interested in private tutoring for any subject at CXC or CAPE level. And also we provide learning pods for age groups from preschool goes straight up to CXC. Learning pods are homeschool styled sessions. Groups, the children are learning in groups of around 6 students. to keep that smaller, more intimate group where they could get to know each student, and the learning is much more comfortable. It's much more relaxed. They learn faster. They are much more willing to open up and ask questions. So that's the intention that we are using that with. The classes are already ongoing now. So if you are interested, registration is also ongoing. You can feel free to hit us up wherever you can. These learning pods are not only available at our location. We are also willing to start learning pods in locations in close to your vicinity if you have the requisite students there. So hit us up and speak to us. We'll discuss what you have planned if that is your intention. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'll see you guys for the next Mindful Live session tomorrow evening starting around 9:15 p.m. It has been nice, as it always is. I will see you guys tomorrow. Till then, peace, peace, peace. Hold it down. Laters, folks.